bracing himself against the rough wooden post. Turul steeled his nerves for Roka's impending actions, acutely aware that whatever was to come would be steeped in cruelty. His muscles tensed further under the already constricting bondage, every sense sharpened. The relentless gleam in the giant's eyes promised nothing but harsh and unforgiving treatment. The oppressive overseer moved deliberately toward one of the towering wooden poles, ensuring that the prisoner's eyes trailed every step he took. As he reached the pole, his rough, calloused hand grasped the aged wooden bolt that protruded from the top, a critical piece that bore the weight of the menacing spiked beam above. With a sinister grin, he tapped the bolt lightly. This subtle action was a foreboding signal, heightening the palpable suspense of the ordeal ahead. Turul realized the impending danger instantly.
He's unlocking the overhead bar.
His thoughts raced as his hands, previously clenched in fists, instinctively moved to support the horizontal bar above him. This action drew a sinister chuckle from the slave master, as he slowly twisted the bolt free from its lock. A prolonged creak resonated through the area, the sound amplified by the aged bolt, and Roka's deliberate actions to prolong the suspense of the impending torment. This ominous noise would have instilled fear in the hearts of ordinary slaves, yet Turul stood undaunted. When the bolts on both sides were released, the horizontal bar settled heavily onto the strung captive's strong arms. Positioned immovably between two wooden poles, the bar, though unfastened at the top, was impossible to lift to any significant height. Constructed from oak, it was more robust and heavier than typical beams. Its weight was further increased by numerous spikes embedded throughout. A strong man like Turul managed to support it with seeming ease, but the relentless weight caused his arm muscles to tense and strain under the continuous load.
Showtime!
Came Roka's sneer, a chilling reminder behind him. Feeling the pressure of a hand firmly pressed against his neck, Turul instantly snapped to alertness. The nearness of the sound and the touch refocused his attention, as he realized how close his captor had stealthily moved. Glancing back over his shoulder, he saw the fingers tracing the row of sharply pointed spikes, ominously close. Just a hand's width from his skin. While his fingers continued to touch the sharp tip of the spike, the hand resting on the thick neck exerted more pressure, compelling the young prisoner to resist. This menacing action demonstrated the dangerous closeness and potential torment of the spikes. Simultaneously, his other hand moved to support the bulging right biceps, burdened by the weight of the beam.
How strong are your arms?
Roka taunted, signaling that the endurance of his arms would determine the extent of his suffering. This dual gesture starkly displayed his absolute control over his new slave.
To labor for the king.
The giant of man continued in a crude, dismissive tone. This remark underscored his indifference to the precarious situation of his victim. His primary focus lay in assessing the strength of those arms, evaluating how well they would serve in the arduous tasks set forth by the king. In response, Turul's fighter spirit flared instinctively. Arms tensed, muscles hardening like iron beneath the skin, each segment of the massive chest and shoulders becoming sharply defined as they bulged under the strain. Veins stood out, etched clearly, as the beam was forcefully lifted higher. With a defiant glare, the posture was one of outright challenge and unwavering determination, showing no fear, despite the daunting torments before him. Perhaps that was part of the seasoned master's cruel tactic, to provoke his slave. As the well-built young man tensed his biceps, Roka's fingers clawed deeply into the bulging muscles, intensifying the pain, far beyond what relaxed muscles would have endured. This action signified that all those powerful muscles were now firmly under his cruel control.
Heard a lot of yes cock and bull stories.
The cruel giant sneered into Turul's ear from behind, as his hand shifted from the spike to the prisoner's left biceps. Then, he dug his fingers in harder, eliciting a harsh grunt from the young rebel's lips.
Ten blokes' strength in one.
Roka growled, his voice coming from the opposite side, to disorient the shackled legend. As he spoke, his claws sank deeper into the straining muscles, part of his strategy to keep his captive off balance and unable to focus. Turul gritted his teeth tightly, his jaw clenched, as he fought to suppress a grunt of pain. He stared straight ahead, focusing his will to resist. After a brief silence, another sneer from the cruel tormentor broke through.
Let's see what class you're in.
The young rebel's mind churned at the implications.
What vile plan does he have in store?
He wondered.